Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. Welcome back to my channel, My Loverlies. If you've never been here before, thank you so much for clicking on my video. I am so happy you found me. I do so hope that you will like and subscribe before you leave. Become part of the Mama family. Mama's got your back, at least where makeup's concerned, and definitely when that makeup is cheap. Today is True Love Tuesday. We are talking about an absolutely iconic man in Hollywood. We're talking about Mr. Denzel Washington and his wife, Pauletta. Before we get started, a very special, very warm welcome to any of those that are new to my channel. I am so incredibly happy that you are here. If you enjoy the content, I do so hope that you will mash that thumbs up button. I hope that you will subscribe if you have not already. And I hope that you will ring my bell, turn on your notifications, so that way, next time I upload a video, you can come right back here and we can hang out together again. Also, my eyes are already done. Turned out super cute today. I used the Juvia's Place Culture 2 palette in my best of 2023, one of my very favorite eyeshadow palettes of all time. Such a good one. I did, of course, film a TikTok on today's eye look if you are interested. I'll make sure to put the tags for that as well as all of my other socials, Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff in the description box below. Guys, if you are not following me on all my other socials, you definitely should go do that. I post fun content every single day. And if you're following me everywhere, you don't have to worry about missing a single moment of it. Also, I will make sure to put a list of everything I use in today's video in the description box as well. I don't usually talk too awful much about the products that I'm using, but of course, if you have any questions about what I used or how I used it, all you have to do is leave me a comment and I will get back to you. All right, with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into the love story. If you've never been here for True Love Tuesday, I sit here and I do my makeup and I tell you an epic love story along the way. Now, if you guys see me looking over in this direction, it is because I am looking at my notes. There are a few of them for today's video, but not a ton, so we shouldn't be here too awful long. In any case, go ahead and get yourself a big old glass of something to drink, maybe even a snack. Get comfy, get cozy, and let's dive into the story. Denzel was born Denzel Hayes Washington II, or Denzel Jr. He was born on December 28th, 1954 in Mount Vernon, New York. So he is a New Yorker born and bred. He's best known for his roles in Training Day, American Gangster, Philadelphia, which is a phenomenal movie. Very, very difficult to watch, but so worth it. It's like a cinematic masterpiece. Just a really beautiful story told in a really, really real, raw, and honest way. I believe it's also got Tom Hanks in it. Antonio Banderas might be in there just a little bit. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but very, very good movie. He's also most recently known for The Equalizer. I feel like there are a couple of movies under that Equalizer umbrella. He's had a pretty prolific career. All in all, he's got about over 60 credits to his name across television and movies. He's just been working steadily for decades in Hollywood. He's probably one of the best known black actors in Hollywood. It's kind of amazing. Now, he was born to mother Lennis Lynn, who was a beauty parlor owner and operator, and then his father, Denzel Hayes Washington Sr., or the first. He was a ordained Pentecostal minister. He was also an employee of the New York City Water Department. And then on the side, he also worked retail at a local S. Klein's department store. So his dad was definitely a hardworking man. Now, unfortunately, his parents got divorced when Denzel was around 14 years old, and this is when a lot of Denzel's problems begin. Now, when his parents divorced, I feel like he definitely rebelled a little bit, and he definitely, he just kind of acted out a little bit. And without his father to be a strong male presence in the home and, kind of keep him on the straight and narrow, Denzel went a little bit wild. He went a little bit crazy and kind of turned to the streets a little bit. I think he was hurting and he turned to the streets for I don't know, purpose to keep his mind occupied. Not exactly sure why, but he turned to the streets in a very, very big way. And this scared his mother. He turned into a little bit of a ruffian, a little bit of a thug, and his mother just decided that this was not going to happen. She was not going to allow her son to go down this path, and she ends up making a choice that changes the trajectory of Denzel's life. Now, she decides to send Denzel to a military academy, Oakland Military Academy. Oakland Military Academy, to be exact. And he goes and he attends this school, and it changes everything. Now, as soon as Denzel gets to this school, he realizes that the way he's been acting is just not going to fly here. And he very, very quickly straightens up his act, and, things, he just learns to make better choices. He learns to deal with what's going on with him, and instead of, acting out and, being a thug, he learns to really channel that energy into something positive. And this makes the biggest difference. He's actually said many times in many different interviews that if his mother hadn't have sent him, things would have ended up very, very differently for him. He says, "The decision that my mother made to send me to military school changed my life, because I wouldn't have survived the direction that I was going. The guys I was hanging out with at the time, my running buddies, have now done maybe 40 years combined in the penitentiary." He said they were nice guys, but the streets got to them. And baby, the streets will get to just about anybody. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how far above it you think you are. When you start making bad decisions, it becomes easier and easier to make even worse ones down the line. And he is forever thankful that his mother recognized that this was, what he was doing was unacceptable, and did something to change it. So after he gets back from the military academy, he actually ends up moving to Daytona Beach, Florida. And there he attends the Mainland High School. He attends there for about a year, from 70 to 71. And then after that, he is kind of like, I think he takes a little bit of time off just to kind of figure out where he wants to attend. He graduates high school, tries to figure out where he wants to attend college. Now, he was thinking about attending Texas Tech, but ultimately decided against it and I'm not sure. But he ends up attending Fordham University, and he attends there in 1977. Now, while at Fordham, he joins the collegiate basketball team and is a star athlete. Now, we're not talking like a Michael Jordan, you know what I mean? But very athletically gifted. Now, it definitely wasn't his love, and it wasn't the thing that he focused most of his attention on, but he did very much enjoy playing sports. Things like that in school gave him an outlet for his aggression and, his extra energy, and he really excelled at it. He ends up graduating from Fordham University with a BA in drama and journalism. And then he's got to figure out, well, what does he want to do now? He's got to try to find a path, right? What career does he really want to pursue? Now, at this point, he doesn't really know he wants to be an actor. Like, he, of course, knows that it intrigues him, and he knows that he's got a little bit of a gift for it. He's been in, shows, like talent shows, things like that before. Of course, he got his BA in drama, and also journalism. So he's given himself options. So after he graduates from college, he's trying to find a direction. And basically the biggest thing on his plate at the moment is he's got to get a job. So he actually ends up landing a position as the creative arts director of at a overnight summer camp with the Camp Sloan YMCA in Lakeville, Connecticut. Now, it is while working at this summer camp that Denzel truly finds his love of acting and being on the stage. Now, while during the summer, they're at a summer camp doing fun things, right? And the camp decides to have a a talent show, but this talent show is for the students and the staff are the ones who participate. So this is a staff-wide talent show, and of course Denzel gets up on stage and he kind of does his thing. He's, pretty much a natural born actor, so he gets up on stage and he genuinely just blows everyone out of the water. He knocks everybody's socks off, and after he gets done performing whatever it is that he performed, the other staffers, his other coworkers, were so impressed by his abilities that they really convinced him. They really went after him and tried to convince him that, dude, you really need to pursue this. You're really, really good. You need to try your hand at Hollywood. And that is exactly what he does. Very shortly thereafter, Denzel makes his screen acting debut in the 1977 made-for-television film Wilma. Now, 4 years later, he made his Hollywood debut in the 1981 film Carbon Copy, but he still hasn't quite gotten his big break yet. But he's acting. He's gotten a couple of roles since then, and he's slowly but surely making a name for himself. Now, Denzel's career didn't happen overnight. He worked long and he worked hard in order to make it happen. But he finally gets his big break when he is cast as Dr. Philip Chandler on NBC's hospital drama Saint Elsewhere. And this is where Denzel came dreamy McDoctor, hot pants. After that, the rest is pretty much history. He ends up getting, cast in bigger roles, and he becomes one of Hollywood's biggest leading men from that point forward. Now, when it comes to Denzel's dating life, especially in Hollywood, there really isn't one. He hasn't been linked to anyone. Now, we're going to talk a little bit later about some rumors and things that have kind of swirled when it comes to Denzel, but for the most part, there are no relationships other than with his wife, Pauletta. Now, he met Pauletta when he was working on his very first TV or film role in that first movie, Wilma, and because he met her as he was just kind of dipping a toe into Hollywood, there really was no time for him to have any escapades with anyone else. And then we move on to Miss Pauletta. Now, Pauletta is an astonishing woman. She is what I would think of when I think of a strong Black woman. She has such a grace and such a beauty and such a power about her. I just love her so very much. This woman truly is pretty remarkable. Now, she, of course, her name is not quite as recognizable as Denzel's, and she definitely isn't the bigger name in the couple. However, just because she is not so much a household name does not make her career any less impressive. Now, she is 4 years older than Denzel as well, and I feel like that becomes it definitely has become a little bit of a theme. I find that these men, especially in Hollywood, they really value an older woman, and especially in these relationships that last a good long while, it's always when the man is just a couple of years younger than his wife. So I love that. I feel like that leads to creating a little bit more of an equal power dynamic across the two somehow, and it does really just make a difference. So she was born Pauletta Pearson on September 28th, 1950. Like I said, she is 4 years older than Denzel. She is an actress, a vocalist. She is a classically trained pianist. She's also a beauty queen. Like, she has basically been there and done that, and anything that she puts her mind to, she pretty much accomplishes and thrives at. She was born to mother Arletta DuBois Smallwood, who was a teacher, while her father, Fairlever W. Pearson, was a school principal. And they both really encouraged Pauletta to pursue an education. Education was very, very important to both of them, and thus it became very, very important to Pauletta as well. And she did. She pursued higher education. She has quite a few degrees, things like that. She's a very, very educated woman. Now, not only is she incredibly smart, but she is incredibly talented as well. She was an excellent student and went on to become an alumna of the North Carolina School of the Arts, as well as the University of North Texas and the Juilliard School. Y'all, this is where the classically trained pianist really comes into play. Now, she studied theater at North Carolina and piano at Juilliard. She began competing in piano playing competitions when she was 10 years old and won many of them. And then in 1970, she broke records. She made absolute history when she became the first Black Miss Carolina beauty pageant contestant to compete. And not only did she compete, but she placed. Though she didn't win, she placed second runner-up, which is still fantabulous. It's in the top 5. And kind of fantastic. Now, she also has one sister. She has one sibling, a sister named Rita Pearson, who is also an actress in Hollywood. Now, when it comes to her body of work, it's not super long. She has done quite a bit of like voiceover work, things like that. But when it comes to like actually being front and center, like in the camera, things like that, she's best known for her role as Terry Angelo on the television comedy series The Parkers. She was in that from 2002 to 2004. She's also pretty well known for being the pianist who provided the music for Antoine Fisher, which was another movie that Denzel starred in, and that happened in 1990. And then in 1993, she performed the song It's in Your Eyes in the legal drama Philadelphia, the one that I was absolutely raving about earlier. Such a good movie, but she actually performed that song. So she really is she's a triple threat. She is so incredibly talented and a really truly beautiful woman. Now, both her and Denzel are also very, very big into philanthropy, and they give back. They support so many charities. They champion a ton of charities, especially like education charities, trying to help less fortunate people get the chance to go to college and thrive and, earn a living for themselves, right? So they are very much into giving back to the community and giving back to people they know that they're, very fortunate and would like to help as many people as they possibly can. Now, Denzel and Pauletta first met on the set of Wilma in 1977. And y'all, it was kind of like, for Denzel anyway, it was very much love at first sight. He saw this woman and was instantly entranced, not only by her beauty, but her poise and her grace and her quiet power, is what he said. It's just, she instantly just ensnared him with her beauty and her intelligence, and he was a goner, right? However, they say that their story is very different from both sides. When they first met on the set of Wilma, Pauletta was already fairly established in the community. She had already had a couple of roles. She was already pretty established in the musical side of things, but this was Denzel's very first acting work ever. So he's very much just has no idea what the frick he's doing. He has no idea what he's doing. And Pauletta him and Pauletta really don't mix. They don't interact very much. Like, they kind of meet on set, like they see each other, but they never actually have a conversation. He just kind of sees her from afar and thinks that she's a very beautiful woman, but they don't really interact very much. They played pretty separate roles on the film and didn't really have time to intermingle very much. So even though technically this film is where they first met, it's not really where they first met. That meeting actually happens over a year later. Now, months after filming on the movie Wilma wrapped, they kind of both go off and they do their separate things. I don't think that Pauletta really gives Denzel a second thought. It's kind of like, all right, well, that was fun. On to the next project. And I think Denzel, even though he thought she was a very, very beautiful woman, I don't think he was thinking too awful much about Pauletta at this point either. I think he was really just focusing on what his next work was going to be and, like how he was going to pay his rent. Luckily, they were both invited to a birthday party. Now, this event was held by a mutual friend of theirs from the filming of Wilma. So of course they both kind of met through the film, and they both get invited to this party. Now Pauletta is there. She is kind of schmoozing. She's having a grand old time. And all of a sudden, like, the party is at, in the very end stages. And then in comes Denzel. And Denzel kind of like crashes the party a little bit. He's invited, but he kind of crashes the party a little bit. He ends up coming in with a big party of his own, really. Comes in with a ton of his friends, and they're just kind of like, they make an entrance for sure. Of course, Denzel goes up to the host and introduces himself, and the host then introduces Denzel to Pauletta, and they have a conversation, their very first conversation. And there are a couple of different accounts of how this conversation really went. Pauletta has one account and Denzel has one that is pretty different. But from the gist of it, they have this conversation and they kind of connect. Like, it's not, I wouldn't say it's like instant fireworks and instant like chemistry, things like that, but there definitely was an attraction there. There was potential there, especially on Pauletta's part. Now, she hadn't really given him too much thought before this. She wasn't really, super interested. But after seeing him at the party and really kind of like conversing with him for a little while, her interest is piqued. And she's kind of like wondering, like, who is this guy, really? So the next night, Denzel is set to attend a play. Well, just so happens that Pauletta has tickets to a play as well. Now, she isn't really aware of what's really going on or who's going to be at this play. She just knows that she has tickets, she's running late, and she is in a rush. And we all know how it can be when we're in a rush. We're not really thinking too awful much about what's going on. We're just trying to get done what we're supposed to get done. So she's running late to this theater. She finally gets there. She's just a couple of minutes late. By the time she walks in, the lights have already gone down and the play is just about to start. So she literally just takes the first open seat that she can find. She plops her little hiney down and she watches the show. Now, to her complete and utter surprise, when the lights go up for intermission, she looks around her, and who is she sitting next to except for Denzel? Now, Denzel says he's not quite sure. He's not sure how much of a coincidence this meet cute actually is, because he says while they were conversing the night before at the party, he told Pauletta that he had tickets to go see this show, and somehow by some miracle, she just accidentally happened to be at the same play. Now, from Denzel's words, I feel like he definitely thinks she manufactured this, bumping into him in some way. And maybe even if you did, good for you. Take your destiny into your own hands. Mama isn't hating at all whatsoever. However, she maintains that this is a complete and total just it's a happenstance. Like, just somehow this is how the universe decided to throw them together. Either way, Denzel wasn't mad about it. Either way, he wasn't mad about it at all, and they get to conversing and talking and getting to know each other just a little bit more during the intermission of this play. And by the time the play is over, they've made plans to go on their first date. Now, like I said, Denzel is pretty much a starving artist at this point in time. Y'all, he ain't got a lick, he ain't got not a cent to his name. And somehow he's got to figure out how to take this this well-educated, beautiful, strong, powerful woman out on a date that she's actually going to enjoy. How is he going to impress this woman? Now, they end up deciding to meet up for dinner, and Denzel's thinking, all right, so all I got to do is worry about dinner. This shouldn't be too difficult. I could probably scrape up enough cash to take her out to a nice dinner. So he does. They kind of live it up a little bit, and Denzel takes Pauletta out to a pretty fancy dinner, actually. And this dinner ends up costing him way more than he bargained for. It actually ends up costing him every cent he had to his name. Luckily for him, this date goes beautifully. They absolutely, this is when the sparks really start flying. This is when the attraction turns into, that little tiny spark turns into a big giant roaring flame. They have a fantastic time during dinner. They're chatting. They're just really, really into each other. Like everything new that he learns about her impresses him more and more, and more he's realizing this woman's kind of out of his league, really. And how in the world did he get so lucky as for her to agree to go out with him? So he's like, I really got to step this up. Like, I really, really like her. I might be in love, right? He's the little strings of love are starting to tighten, right, around his little heart. So dinner goes beautifully. And then the check comes and he's like, oh, and he gets another pain in his heart, but this one isn't so pleasant. And he's like, oh, so he pays for the dinner, but realizes that after dinner is over and done, he is tapped out. He's tapped out. He has nothing left to offer. But guys, remember, they're in New York City. They're in New York City. Nobody owns a car, so of course everybody takes cabs to get to and fro. It's late at night, right? And she lives pretty far from the restaurant, so it's not like he can just walk her home. There's got to be a cab involved somehow. And of course, the restaurant's pretty far from where he lives as well, so he's got to find a way to get her a cab and him a cab. Now, cab fare is not the most affordable thing in the world either, and he has not a dime to his name. He's got a couple of dimes to his name, but they get into the cab, and she gives the cabbie her address, and he realizes just how far away her address really is. And at that point, he basically has to come clean to Pauletta. He has to tell her, listen, I don't have enough money. I don't have enough money to get myself home, let alone get you home. So what does Pauletta do? Instead of her being some super spoiled princess who's like, I can't believe you can't get me home. I can't believe you don't have any money. What does she do but pull out her pocketbook and she pays the cab fare. She pays the cabbie not only to take herself home, but to take Denzel home as well. Now, fortunately for Denzel, she is just kind of rolling with the punches. Denzel thinks that he's fumbled the ball. Denzel at this point is thinking that he has absolutely zero chance of getting a second date with this woman. Like, there's no way that she is going to be with, some schmuck like him. And Pauletta she's a cool girl, right? Like, she just doesn't even let it faze her. She is not only educated and smart and beautiful, but she's incredibly understanding as well. And she understands the point in life that Denzel is in. Like, she knows that Wilma was his first movie role. She knows that he is, struggling to find work. Like, she's been in the same freaking position. So instead of her just kind of like laughing at him and laughing him off because he couldn't afford a cab to take her home, she offers to pay the bill, and they continue to hang out. And y'all, the rest is pretty much history. They continued to date, and she just doesn't instead of tearing him down and faulting him for his shortcomings, she helps to build this man up. And he has said that without Pauletta, he definitely would not be where he is today. Instead of her criticizing him, or all she did was just try to help him. She lifted him up when he couldn't lift himself up. She was there when he couldn't hold his own weight or pull his own weight. She pulled for the both of them. And he said that was when, he really fell in love with her. Now, when it comes to Pauletta and falling in love with Denzel, it didn't happen quite so much overnight. Like, she was definitely interested and she was definitely attracted to this man, but she said that she fell in love with his spirit. She said he has such a fighting spirit, and she said, I thought he was cute, but I fell in love with his spirit. That's what I saw first, and then I thought, not a bad package, really. She looked at him as a whole, not just as a pretty face or things like that, or not as just like a bum with no money for cab fare. She saw the whole package. She looked at him not only as, a man, but a mind and a spirit and a soul as well. And she made the decision to love him because of who he was and not what he could provide for her or do for her. And I believe that is why their foundation and their relationship is so strong. Now, this woman really did play this man like a dang fiddle. She had this man wrapped around her little finger, and there was absolutely nothing that he would not do for her. Now, Pauletta was definitely in love with Mr. Washington. She definitely was committed to him. And Denzel knew that he wanted to marry this woman from like their first date. Like he already knew that this was his future wife. However, Pauletta did not make herself a very easy catch at all. In total, she made this man propose to her 3 separate times. I guess they say 3 times the charm. But the first 2 times he proposed, I don't know, either the proposal wasn't up to her snuff or she just wasn't ready to get married. It doesn't really tell us what her reasons for refusal were. We just know that she did. She refused him not once, but twice. And then on the 3rd try, she finally, very happily, agreed to become his wife. Now, y'all, their relationship was not all smooth sailing. Their courtship, relationship, things like that. Denzel really had to fight to get to a point in his career where he was making good money, where he was being offered good roles. Like, as with any job, really, you have to pay your dues, you have to spend the time, things like that. And it did. It took a little while for him to really make a name for himself and for him to start getting in really good offers. However, it does finally eventually happen, and he gets cast on the NBC show Saint Elsewhere. He gets cast as the main character, kind of like the doctor in charge. And he finally starts making a little bit of a name for himself, and his career, like I said, it was his big break, and he finally starts to blow up a little bit. But when it came to their wedding was a little bit of a disaster, really, and for nobody's fault other than they just invited so many people. And everybody really wanted just a moment of the new couple's time. And by the time they had kind of shaken everybody's hands and kissed everybody's cheek, by the time they go to sit down and eat their wedding dinner at their reception, all the food was gone. And it was just like, they couldn't catch a break for anything. Y'all, they ended up getting married on June 25th, 1983. And like I said, though their wedding wasn't a $1 million affair, they did have quite a few people present. And y'all, they went to town on this food. They went to town on this food, and so much so that there wasn't even a scrap left for the new couple to even munch on. So they actually ended up kind of escaping from their reception, and they headed to the nearest fast food joint. They ended up in a diner having breakfast, like eggs and pancakes and waffles and all of that good, like greasy spoon diner food. That's what they actually ended up eating for their wedding dinner. Almost 13 months to the day, almost exactly 13 months after they were married, they have their first baby, and they didn't really waste any time adding to their family. They went into this knowing that they wanted to have like the American dream. They wanted the white picket fence and the 2.5 kids and all of that good stuff. So they go into this and like they're basically ready to be a family. And it happens pretty quickly and pretty easily for them as well. 13 months later, they welcomed their first child into the world, their eldest son, John David, who was born on July 28th, 1984. He was followed just a few years later by their second child, daughter Katya, on November 27th, 1986. And then lastly, they completed their family on April 10th, 1991, with a set of twins, Malcolm and Olivia. So all in total, they have 4 children together. After the birth of their twins, Pauletta had some choices to make. Now, at this point, Denzel's career is really blowing up. Like, he is a leading man in Hollywood. He is making buco bucks, and they can very, very easily survive on his paycheck alone. However, she is still working because that's what she wants to do. That's her choice. She of course loves what she does, right? She loves the singing and the acting and the dancing and the being a part of it all. But there was one point when Denzel was in LA filming for Saint Elsewhere, and she was in New York working on a play, and she realized, like, she didn't want to be away from her kids. She didn't want to be away from her kids. She didn't want to leave her children with a nanny or someone else. She just realized at that moment, in that point in her life, being at home and building her family and focusing on supporting her husband and her children was what was most important to her. And so she just kind of left. She just kind of left Hollywood, left acting and singing and dancing, things like that. Not for good, but she just kind of took a little bit of a step back just so that she could really focus on her family. And of course, she's never regretted it. She enjoyed every moment of being at home with her children. Nurturing her husband and his career, things like that. She really loved what she did. And on top of that, y'all, she is an absolute monster in the kitchen. Denzel says that one of his very, very favorite things about having his wife at home is how she can tear it up in the kitchen. Apparently, she knows exactly what she's doing. And Denzel said that it didn't matter. It didn't matter how far away he was working. If he could make it home for dinner, he was home for dinner. Like he wasn't missing. And on top of that, she just made the home. He says she's the backbone of their entire lives, as most of us are, like our families don't work without us. But she really devoted herself to her husband and her children, and she made their house a home. She brought warmth and joy and just laughter to their home. And he said that their home life was it was like something out of a fairy tale. She just made it so incredibly beautiful. Denzel actually has been quoted as saying he has never had a better meal than when he sits down at his wife's kitchen table. And after that, it's just wedded bliss, quite honestly. Denzel works his butt off. He's getting all of these really fantastic roles in Hollywood. Pauletta is at home raising their children. Their children are wonderful and smart and just, it's like a fairy tale, right? And then 12 years after they first initially got married, they decided that they needed to renew their vows. And it was just kind of like a little bit of a spur of the moment kind of decision. They actually ended up doing it while they were on vacation. They went on vacation to South Africa, and they ended up getting their vows renewed by the one and only Desmond Tutu. And it was like the rest of their lives. It was something out of a fairy tale. It was almost magical. It was so perfect. And they just kind of recommitted themselves to each other. At this point, they've been together for 12 years. They have 4 children together. And, they're like, this is the rest of their lives, really. But they just wanted to take that time to just rededicate themselves to each other. I really, really, really would love to have a vow renewal ceremony for my husband and I. We've been married for 14 years at this point, and I feel like it's kind of time. Also, I feel like vow renewals are a chance to redo it, because y'all, if I could replan my wedding or redo it, baby, I would do so much different. My wedding was an absolute hot mess. It was a hot mess. Anyway, they renew their vows and they reaffirm their love to each other, and things just continue to go on and be pretty much perfect. That is until, y'all, these rumors, they take no prisoners. They have no mercy. So, y'all, I don't know if you guys remember, but I remember all of the rumors about Denzel having affairs. It was rumored that he had affairs with a couple of different women. What were their names? I don't quite remember their names. Sandra Lathan, there was a big rumor mill about her. So literally nearly all celebrity couples, rumors are always going to swirl. Doesn't matter who you are or, what your profession is, whether you're an actress or a singer, musician, it doesn't really matter. Like, if you're famous, the rumor mill is going to do what it does. And he's kind of notorious for being one of Hollywood's most handsome men. Like, he was one of People Magazine's sexiest men alive, things like that. So of course the rumor mill is going to, again, do what it does. But the rumors concerning Denzel were particularly vicious. And on top of that, Denzel made mistakes. Like, at this point, there was enough proof present. Like, there were pictures. Like, he got caught out making out with a fellow actress. And at this point, See, somehow, the first time it happens, somehow he manages to smooth talk his wife enough that she kind of just like forgives him and is basically like, don't let it happen again. And he was like, no, I won't. And this happens for the first time in 2003, I believe. Yeah, in 2003. It was rumored that Denzel had an affair with his out-of-time co-star, Santa Lathan, right? So she later denied the allegations, as did Denzel, and the scandal eventually kind of died out. However, this would not be the last time that Denzel finds himself in a little bit of hot water. Denzel, in 2013, was reportedly caught cheating again. This time, there was proof. He actually was kind of like snapped. The paparazzi caught him, and several photos emerged of him making out with another one of his co-stars, kissing an unidentified blonde woman on the lips as they passionately embraced. Y'all, this has got to be completely and totally devastating for his wife. I can only imagine how Pauletta must have felt, especially at this point. Like, this is 2013, and they have been together for so long at this point. Like, there's just... And then to find out that your husband is like, he's out there and he's doing it again. Like, it has to be completely and totally heartbreaking. And this time she wasn't just going to be like, oh, she wasn't as eager to believe that it was a rumor. She wasn't as eager to believe that it was just false reporting, right? Like this is, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And this time she just wasn't having it. She kicked his hiney out of the house. This had a devastating effect on their marriage, but especially on Pauletta. She kicked Denzel out of the house and desperately tried to make sense of all of the thousands of photos and comments and just everything being plastered on media, on the television, in the magazines, things like that. This was 2013, so I'm not sure if social media, it was kind of a thing, but it was mostly on the TV and in the magazines. Like, the fact that her freaking life was falling apart was everywhere. And I had a little bit of a breakdown, and baby, I don't blame you. I do not blame her at all whatsoever. I don't know what I would do if I found out my husband was out there doing something stupid. I'd probably put my foot up his hiney, quite honestly. She has a little bit more class than I do, though. So she sits there and she's like, she takes her time, right? And that is kind of like the best thing she could have done for herself. She takes her time. She kicks this man out of the house. She doesn't want anything to do with him. And she takes her time and she takes stock of how she feels. She takes stock of what it is, like, what is on the line. And I feel like, especially when you've been with somebody for so long and you've built a life together, you've built an empire together, which is pretty much what they have done. I feel like the decision to either divorce or things like that, I feel like it is much harder. It is much difficult. And especially at this time, they still have children in the home. Like, there's more at stake than just her pride. And like I said, she is a much bigger woman than me, because she actually ends up taking this man back. She ends up taking Denzel back, and she lays down the law on this man this time, though. And she, in no uncertain terms, tells this man that if it ever happens again, not only is she going to leave him, but she's going to leave this man with nothing. Absolutely nothing. And quite honestly, it hasn't happened again. So eventually, she lets this man back into their home and back into their $2.6 million mansion that they bought together in 1992. Like, not even bought, I think they had it built, but a $2.6 million mansion. Kick rocks, honey. Kick rock. Like, anyway, good for her. Good for her. She eventually decides that their relationship is worth saving. She lets him come home. They work on it. They start to go to couples therapy, things like that, really trying to work on their marriage and trying to figure out why it is that Denzel felt the need to find solace in another woman's arms. Since then, both Denzel and Pauletta have pretty much taken a giant step back from like Hollywood. Not like they still work, they still attend and support and champion their charities, things like that. But if they're not working, they're doing their own thing. Like, they keep to themselves, they keep their private lives private, and I really don't blame them. The media has such a way of either making or breaking a relationship, and unfortunately, most often it's a breaking, more of a breaking kind of motion. Like, it has a way of tearing people apart. And whether what they're reporting is true or not, it makes you doubt. It makes you doubt your relationship. It makes you doubt the love you share and have for each other. And they just decided that they just weren't going to mess with it anymore. So they took a big giant step back from the spotlight, and they've been very, very happy ever since. Now, there hasn't been too awful much about them in the media since 2013. Like I said, Denzel continues to work. I think he just did another Equalizer movie that was just released here pretty recently. So he continues to work. And Denzel at this point, I believe he's 69. He's 69 and Pauletta is 73. They are, of course, still married, still going strong. Their children grew up. They kind of fled the nest, went off to do their own thing. Their oldest son, John David, right now he's 39 at this point. Can you believe that? Denzel Washington is old enough to have a 39-year-old child. It's absolutely insane. Anyway, their oldest child actually went on and pretty much followed in his father's footsteps and became quite the little actor. He was in the one that I know him from the most is, remember that HBO show with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Ballers? My husband and I used to watch that show together all the time. Really, really fantastic show. But he actually played one of the main characters in that show, and he played an athlete, and so good. Such a good show. Really, really great actor as well. Very, very believable. He's got a great screen presence. Very attractive young man as well. And then also followed in his father's footsteps when it came to collegiate sports as well. He was a really, really big, he was a great baller while he was in college and while he was in school. Played professionally for a little while after, I believe he got with the St. Louis Rams. Yeah. He was drafted, played with the St. Louis Rams for a little bit over a year. Not exactly sure what happened there. But then he went and he played independent football for a little while. Independent professional football, like overseas, for a little while. And then after that, he went into acting and has been in a couple of really fantastic roles. Like I said, he was in Ballers. He was also in the Black Klansman as well. He's been in Malcolm and Marie. He's been in Amsterdam. Like, he's been in a couple of really, really good things. Their other daughter, Olivia, she went on to become an actress as well. All four of their children work in Hollywood in some aspect. Their youngest son, Malcolm, he is more of a personal assistant, kind of works behind the scenes a little bit. And then their other daughter, what was her name? Katya. Their other daughter, Katya, she actually is a producer. So all of their children went on to become pretty successful in their own right, and they all kind of walked in their father's footsteps, mother and father's footsteps, and have a little bit of a toe in the Hollywood profession. And with that, my lovelies, we have reached the end of True Love Tuesday. I hope that you enjoyed it as much as I did. This is the finished look. What do we think? Do we like it? Do we love it? Let me know in the comments below. As always, thank you so very much for being here. I love you so, so very much. I cannot wait to see you next time. Guys, I will make sure to have everything listed in the description box. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask them. I will answer them to the best of my ability. If you did enjoy today's video, please make sure to give it a big old fat thumbs up before you go. As always, no filters, no fancy lighting. It is just me sitting in front of my camera, doing my makeup, telling you guys an epic love story, hoping you guys are enjoying what I'm doing. And until next time, stay safe, take care of yourselves, and remember, you're important. Bye.